All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Hot Route Takes. This is the NFL Week 11 recap show brought to you by myself, Chase Owens, hosting today with my good buddy Brian Sarver, big fan of the now 7-3 Miami Dolphins. And unfortunately, our third co-host was unable to join us this afternoon. Christian Mills had some family wedding attendance and I think bachelor party stuff to attend to out of town this weekend. So he won't be with us today. We will be getting his thoughts on his now 4-6 Chargers, who took an unfortunate loss today. We'll get all that recapped and his thoughts on his team on Wednesday. So without further ado, we will get right into the Week 11 recaps, as we always do on the first half of this show. As I mentioned in the preview, my Ravens were the Thursday night football game, and Cincinnati, Baltimore, always a great showdown, two of the upper echelon teams in the AFC for a while now. Unfortunately, as the case with a lot of Thursday night games, the story of this one was injuries. Brutal injuries. And I'll have my take on the loss of Mark Andrews for the season. I'll save that for my quote unquote Ravens take later in this pod. But just to speak on the game itself, obviously Joe Burrow goes out in the second quarter. He's done for the year now. I think it had all the makings of a great game, like a real back and forth, just classic until Joe went out, unfortunately. And the Ravens just kind of handled their business from there, did what they were supposed to do against the backup. A little bit unfortunate that Zay Flowers cashed in on a long screenplay for like an 80-yard touchdown that was called back on a phantom holding call, but a little bit of the best ball don't lie scenario stuff where Nelson Aguilar gets a tip ball and runs that in for a touchdown. That was probably the play of the game. Second half comes around. Ravens continue to run the ball very effectively. Defense plays well. And OBJ, I spoke of his emergence these last few weeks. Another big game, 4 catches, over 100 yards for the first time in quite a while, I believe. First time with the Ravens for sure. And his emergence is going to be very vital for this team, obviously with the loss of Mark Andrews now. So in the end, 34-20 victory, prime time at home. That was my main reason for picking these guys. So good at prime time at home. And partner that with coming off a loss. Just love what I'm seeing from the Ravens, man. 8-3 start. I could not ask for a better outcome in this first half of the football year before Thanksgiving. So great Thursday night game for me to watch. Sunday action was jam-packed in the 1 o'clock window, guys. It was 8 really good, tightly contested games. And to start us off here, I'm going to let Brian touch on one of the better games of the day. It was the Detroit Lions fighting back from like 12 down, I believe 4 minutes left to go, and snatched a victory away from Chicago Bears. 31-26 final. Jared Goff had his struggles early on, but Brian, he rebounded and got Detroit to 8-2 on the season. What did you see from both of these teams?
Yeah, Detroit, they moved the ball decently throughout the game, just continuously to shoot themselves in the foot but when they get in the red zone. But the rushing game was consistent. It wasn't great, but they were able to lean on it and ultimately come out on top in this football game. But I will say the turnovers is what allowed Chicago to hang around in this game. They didn't have a whole lot of success through the air, but combined with 160 yards to the air and 104 yards rushing for Justin Fields, so he had a pretty productive day rushing the football, but not a whole lot else really going for them offensively. But they did play a pretty good defensive game, I think, in my mind, to be able to hold this Detroit rushing attack back a little bit and, try to force some turnovers. And they're able to hang around, and ultimately Detroit scores a touchdown, recovers an onside kick, scores another touchdown, gets a 2-point conversion, and then ends up getting a safety on the following drive. So just complete dominance to close the game by Detroit, and that was a very Dan Campbell way to win a game, in my opinion.
Yeah, very much so. Honestly, for Chicago, probably the outcome they wanted if they're secretly rooting to finish high overall in this draft order at least.
Sure.
Detroit, another win to firmly control this NFC North. Honestly, 8-2 start. They've got aspirations of maybe getting a first round bye. It would take a lot to overtake the Eagles. It'd because they're such a good football team. But they're playing a first place schedule, whereas Detroit is not. So
Yeah.
they continue to handle their business. That could be an outcome. Who would have thought it preseason? I don't think anybody. But obviously, Detroit's established themselves as a upper echelon team in the NFC, especially. So, getting back to the AFC North action, the other two teams played each other this Sunday afternoon. It was the Cleveland Browns taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Cleveland. And we touched on this in the preview show, but this game went as about expected as we all thought it would. 13-10 final, another game-winning field goal pretty much as time expires for Cleveland, moved to 7-3, second place in the North, whereas Steelers dropped to 6-4. And I'll touch on the Steelers a little bit. Some encouraging signs is this rushing attack. Jalen Warren's got a lot of juice. He housed a 70-plus yarder today. The team total ran for 170 yards. So even if you take that long 74-yarder, 25 attempts for almost 100 yards, pretty much consistently moving the ball on the ground. Yeah, that's fine. But the 106-yard passing from Kenny Pickett, not going to cut it. Not going to cut it. I know it's a good defense, but they are severely lacking there. And with all the weapons they have, it's just not the performance you need from Kenny Pickett. And Cleveland didn't had the one pick from DTR, but he did fine. He threw the ball more than they probably wanted, 43 attempts. But just continuing to play the field position game and trust that defense. I will give Christian a shout out here because Myles Garrett was very much felt in this game. He's been felt all year, probably the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year at this point. And Christian's the one that called it preseason. So shout out to him. Having a very, very nice year. So that was pretty much what we expected from that one. Moving on, guys, we're going to get to Brian's Miami Dolphins, maybe in a little bit more of a dogfight than we expected for sure. A 20-13 win to move Miami to 7-3 over the Las Vegas Raiders, who dropped to now 5-6 on the season. But I will say this: since Antonio Pierce has taken over, the Raiders have a lot of fight, and they played a pretty good game today. Ultimately, Jalen Ramsey that game-winning pick. Brian, what'd you see from your Dolphins? And was it the Raiders just having a really good day, or were your Dolphins just maybe a little slow out the gate coming off that bye week?
I thought that the Raiders actually played a pretty decent game, but I will say it was more just Miami shooting themselves in the foot, doing this, I mean, perpetually all season. We have not won the turnover battle, I think, in more than half of the games we played this season. So, despite that, having a pretty good record, I'd say 7-3. So we got a lot of things to clean up, and the ceiling's real high. But we cannot do this because against the good teams, those are the kind of mistakes that will get you in the end. And we just continue to do them. So we got to really clean up, especially on the offensive side of the ball, as far as fumbling. So we had two today in our territory, set the defense up and on a short field, and they only scored 13 points in this game, despite us handing them two possessions within our own 30-yard line, almost in the red zone, and then also throwing two interceptions in this game as well. But I mean, that kind of goes to show that we just have a very talented team. And when things are going wrong, when we're doing bad on third down, we can still pull out ugly wins like this. Just because I think our defense is elite. I think they proved that today. I know it's not a very good team with Aiden O'Connell leading the way, but I mean, Josh Jacobs, he was supposed to be the guy that kind of had the offense on his back. He had 14 carries for 39 yards. It's 2.8 yards a carry. So we kind of shut him down. And then Jalen Ramsey, man, what a impact on this game. Two picks, two plays where he baited O'Connell into throwing it and then just jumps it and picks it off. I mean, incredible play in the end zone to really close the game. And then the possession before that, an incredible play by Christian Wilkins and Jalen Phillips. Christian Wilkins goes to throw him down, and he tries to throw the ball away, and it gets propped up, and Jalen Phillips picks it off. So I just think this defense continuing to just get better and better week in and week out with this Vic Fangio scheme. And we know what the offense is capable of. They just need to clean things up and stop all the miscues, man. You can't do that
Yeah.
against good teams. So
Yeah. Well, this just in, Jalen Ramsey still quite good. As we expected, that addition to this defense is a very scary sight for teams in the future, and the defense just keeps building in these coming weeks against the teams they're supposed to beat. I don't care what the final score is, as long as you beat them and take care of business, and then just clean up things along the way, get to those good football teams at the end of the year. hopefully that'll spell well for your Dolphins against the Cowboys and Bills. Maybe not so much my Ravens. Moving on, guys. That could be an important win, and we'll talk about it. Obviously, both teams 3 losses on the year, but that could be a very important game come Week 17.
For
So we'll
sure.
have to stay tuned.
Some week
It's
one stealing,
exciting
huh?
that, yeah, exactly. It's exciting that it could come to that. I'll just say, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Obviously, not even to Thanksgiving yet. So we'll move on to some less than thrilling teams. And honestly, Washington dropping this one at home to the New York Giants, and led by DeVito, third string QB, makes Washington 0-2 now in the year against New York, and any aspirations of them making a playoff push in the NFC as a lower wild card, I think, have to evaporate after this type of loss to me. Sam Howell, he's still fine. He's having a good year, but not a good day today. 3 interceptions, and the late pick six to Simmons was the deciding factor. They were trying to make a comeback and steal the game away, but that pick six pretty much iced it. Not really in a way you expect a New York team to win a game, because Saquon
No,
didn't really get the ball a lot, and he didn't make anything crazy happen. But DeVito, strong in his 18 for 26 limited attempts, but good volume on those completions, 246 yards with 3 touchdowns. So I
sacked
don't know if,
9 times.
yeah, he was pretty much, yeah, he was pretty much either getting a good chunk play or get
Sack.
holding the ball too long and getting sacked. So interesting game, but two teams that we're kind of past the point of caring about, because neither of them look to be NFC playoff teams. Moving on to an AFC playoff team, I have them in the playoffs for sure, is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who really bounced back from that sour defeat at the hands of the 49ers last week, and put together one of their better performances of the years at home, moving to 7-3 with a 34-14 win against the Tennessee Titans. I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. I think Will Levis is pretty much showing who he is. The Titans are going to be finishing very low record, high draft pick type season for them, whereas Jacksonville is establishing themselves as maybe not quite that Chiefs Eagles tier, but a step below, good enough team to make a run in the playoffs. Brian, any notes from Jacksonville? Because this is a team, I don't know if y'all play them. We do this year. So even if you don't in the regular season, a team you could see in the playoffs. So what are you seeing from Jacksonville right now?
I think Trevor Lawrence got some things going today through the air, particularly to Calvin Ridley, who has had some
Mm-hmm.
inconsistency so far this year, but this game came through big and had a lot to do with them just doing whatever they want on offense. Finishing the day with 7 catches for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. They didn't do a whole lot on the ground today. They had it mixed up: 52 yards for ETN, 20 and 20 for Tank Bigsby and what's his name, Johnson.
Yeah.
He played for Cleveland. Forgot his name, but
Oh, sorry. I'm
anyway,
gonna look it up.
yeah. I just think Jacksonville is dangerous just because they can beat you in a number of ways. Their offense is good. Their running game can be good. It just depends on the week. They can beat you to the air. Trevor Lawrence can take off and run. Their defense has just been a good unit overall. I don't think the pass rush or coverage one really stands out from the other, but just I think good middle of the field play, and just an overall good defense and well coached team. I think that is going to continue to get better. This isn't their final form or whatever you want to call it. It's still a pretty young
Yeah.
team, so it's going to be exciting to see what they can do.
I think with Jacksonville now, it's a matter is if they can pull away from this next team we're about to talk about, and that's the Houston Texans in this AFC South. I think Jacksonville is the better team. Houston's still very raw, very young, but they're still stringing together wins. And today it was no different. Honestly, it was CJ Stroud's most rookie-like performance today. He had some very obvious rookie moments during 3 picks,
They
but that
played
didn't
excellent.
deter him. Yeah, yeah, for sure. But when you still look at the overall stat line, 336 yards and 2 tutties. That's a great day for anyone. Just got to cut those turnovers out. But today it didn't cost them. 21-16 win over Arizona and Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Just to touch on a little here of Houston's offense, Tank Dell, we've preached him on this pod a good bit now every week, and Christian's guys very high on Tank Dell. He had another big day. 8 catches for 149 yards, including a long touchdown in the first half. Man, Stroud told him Houston front office to draft them for a reason. They obviously have a rapport and a great connection. And out of all the rookie wide receivers, he's honestly had some of the best production, even more so than the first rounders, and a guy we'll probably talk about later on in this pod for sure. Just great stuff continued from Houston. And a game, honestly, they're supposed to win. If they want to be this playoff team we think they are, that statement win last week against Cincinnati, you got to back it up against the teams you're supposed to beat. Not the best performance, but they did so by winning at home today against Arizona.
Yep.
Moving to the NFC side, we've got now the 7-3 Dallas Cowboys, who for a moment struggled against the Carolina Panthers on the road, but eventually pulled away thanks to Deron Bland's fourth pick six of the season, tying
Crazy.
a NFL record. I don't think we've said his name yet on this podcast, maybe once or twice. I want to give him a little love because after the injury to Trevon Diggs, we thought the secondary could be a little suspect. That's not the case, man. Dallas looks like still a very complete team when Dak Prescott is playing his brand of football against these teams he's supposed to be. Obviously, the question with Dallas, can he do it against the better teams? But defense still very good. Brian, any notes on this one? Obviously, it was close for a little bit, but Dallas did pull away.
No, I don't have a whole lot to say about this football game. We can just go ahead and move it on to the next week if you want to.
The next one is a fun one. We probably should both weigh in on this one. And Brian called it. He called a shot on the preview show. I tried to give Christian the benefit of the doubt, but my goodness, the Chargers. I think when we talk to Christian next, Brian, I would be very surprised if Staley is still the head coach. Honestly, I'm expecting a firing come tomorrow morning. A lot to talk about with the Chargers, but dropping this one by 20-23 score on the road at Lambeau. The rookie wide receiver Johnston, a huge drop on the final drive. Yeah, he's had I'm gonna try to avoid going in on him because rookie NFL players are like, I hate to label them a bust in their first year, but obviously a first rounder, you want more immediate production. And he was the second receiver taken right after JSN in that string of four receivers. And pre-pod, me and Brian were talking about this. It's been Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison, the two after that had the most production. And that was a big drop for the Chargers. Austin Eckler fumbled in the 3-5 yard line, something like that. Just continuing to shoot themselves in the foot. Jordan Love, a late game-winning touchdown drive. So, Brian, I'll let you touch on what you saw from the Chargers and your guy Jordan Love to ultimately pull out the win.
You know, this is a game the Chargers should have won, honestly. They really should have won it. They had the game in their hands, and I think a good way to put it is they played with their food too long, and they got bit. And this is something I've been saying in previous weeks, and that's something I said in the preview show is like, they've been doing this, and I think the Packers have shown that they can move the ball on offense. They have the ability. It's not consistent, but I think they did it in this football game. Jordan Love is continuing to grow, I think, as a player, and I think he showed some growth today. First game over 300 yards passing, and spread the love, man. Wicks had 91 yards, Romeo Dubs 53 yards, Jaden Reed 46 yards, Tucker Kraft 32, AJ Dillon 32, Luke Musgrave 28, and his supposedly top weapon Christian Watson 21 yards. And so just throwing the ball all over the yard and playing complimentary football, and was able to win this game, and the game where the Chargers should have won. I would say the drops is what killed him, and it wasn't just Quentin Johnson. Keenan Allen had several big drops. Yeah,
a fourth down. Who was it? Parham, I believe. Was it Parham? I think it was a big fourth down over the middle of the field. It wasn't the best thrown ball, but it was definitely catchable, and it was just flat out dropped. Poor Justin Herbert at this point. And now with the Chargers sitting at 4-6, like I said, I fully expect Staley to be gone tomorrow morning. And when we talk to Christian again, it's 4-6 in the AFC. They got to win 7 in a row
pretty
to
much
get to 11-6, and 11-6, as we've said, still might not be good enough to get in the playoffs. Their playoffs hopes just look dashed, and they'll be playing my Ravens next week. So obviously, I can't pull for him to turn it around quite yet. So I'm just ready to talk to Christian because I know he's going through it right now, and it's been a tough watch. The LA Chargers this year, obviously. change is coming. This is probably a blessing is disguise, as I kind of foreshadowed
Yeah.
in the preview show. This might be because I don't expect Staley to be around come tomorrow morning. So moving on, we get to the 4 o'clock slate of games, guys, and it's first one pretty much. San Francisco is back to where I thought they were. I know they had a 3-game losing streak, but the defense and the addition of Chase Young seems to already be paying dividends. Tampa didn't really have a whole lot of luck moving the ball on them today. And Brock Purdy, man, I think he just had a bad string of games, and that concussion, the Monday night game against Minnesota, may have been a little part of that. When he's been healthy and a fully 100%, and the ground game, they play with a lead, and he can work on schedule in the system. He's been very effective. He's been by far the most effective San Fran QB that they've had in this type of Kyle Shanahan era. And today, 21 to 25 for 333 yards. Ayuk over 156 yards on 5 catches and a tutty. Just efficiency, and taking care of the football. That's all San Francisco's quarterbacks have to do with this defense in this ground game. More of that, moving them to 7-3. Obviously, still a very good team in the NFC. Any notes on this one, Brian?
Yeah, the Buccaneers just were not able to score. If they were able to score earlier in the game, you would have been able
Yeah.
to put San Francisco in a script that is not ideal for them and not ideal for Brock Purdy. And when Brock Purdy has to play from behind and really push things, that's when we've seen him make mistakes. That's when we've seen the ugly interceptions, and we've seen him also have moments of brilliance. But I think when he is in a position where it's an obvious passing down and he has to force the ball down the field, he's a little bit of a volatile player. He's going to make some risky decisions. He's going to try to gamble and throw the ball in some tight windows down the field. And sometimes it pays off. We saw it pay off a couple times today. Long shot to Ayuk and nice throw for a touchdown to George Kittle. I think he's a good player. I think he's definitely an upgrade over Jimmy G, but I'm thinking that we're starting to see where this guy's ceiling is as a player and what he can do. And I think it's just excellent value for the draft pick that he was.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. With that roster, just like I said, take care of the ball. You'll go a long way in the NFC. He may have to play in over his head to beat Philadelphia or a team like that, but that's why the NFL playoffs are great. I saw Joe Flacco get hot and beat Tom Brady and win us the Super Bowl.
He
Anything can
signed to a
happen.
practice squad today. Did you see that?
Who was it? He was
Oh,
in Cincinnati. I know someone
yes,
saw.
the Browns
What?
practice squad.
Okay. Yeah, someone saw him on a Cincinnati flight, so I assume it was one of those Ohio teams. And honestly, I know the Browns got the win today. They needed to sign a quarterback. I don't know if Joe Flacco's your guy right now,
Yeah.
as much as I love Joe and everything he gave the Ravens. But interesting. We'll see what the Browns QB situation looks like going forward. Moving on, guys, we got to the Seattle LA Rams game.
Man,
And
what happened in
honestly,
this one?
I was about to say I saw Matt Stafford was playing, and that alone was like, man, this Rams team really beat them down week 1. I almost want to change my pick, but I didn't do it because I was like, Seattle's not the same team they were week 1. Well, honestly, the offense really sputtered again against the Rams, and Matt Stafford didn't go crazy, and Cooper Kupp went out of this game, but a late field goal that was missed by Seattle as time expired, I believe, was the difference, and it cost them a 17-16 defeat to drop Seattle to 6-4. LA moves to 4-6 now in the year. I don't have a lot of notes for this one. I was halfway tuning in and out, but Seattle, if we think for what we think of
Walker was
this
out
team,
too.
yeah. So it's just hard because we've come to like Seattle. They looked very sound last week, and this is the team you're supposed to be. If Seattle puts these performances like they have against the Rams in both games this year, it just creates doubt that they can beat any, like maybe they get a first round win in the NFC wildcard round, but I don't see how they would beat a Detroit, beat a Philadelphia or a San Fran or a Dallas. Like those four, I'm taking the other four all day, every day. So, any notes, Brian? I mean, it was a shocker to say the least.
I don't have a whole lot to say here. I did see Kenneth Walker left the game early, but I just think that Geno Smith has to win this game and
Yes.
put the team on his back and make the
Yes.
plays needed to win this game. That's just what I think. Granted, he did put his team in a position to win the game at the end, and the kicker didn't execute and make the field goal. But I just don't think very much of this Rams team, and I just think this is a game that if you're to be taken seriously, you got to win.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't let it get to that point. We've said that a lot with honestly, I've said it with my team. We were just harping on it with the Chargers, playing with your food. Playing with your food. How do you let lesser teams win? You turn the football over. That's what Brian, you were experiencing that today.
Yep.
And you just don't finish drives and you settle for field goals. That's how you let the lesser team stay in these ball games. And ultimately, you can't bank on your kicker going out there and just cashing in for a game-winning field goal, even if you do everything right in the final drive. So, last up, we've got an AFC East matchup that was truly a blowout. Kind of what I don't know if I expected it because of the firing. As if anything, motivation for this Bills team. But 32 points is certainly better than what they've been giving. I know the Jets' offense doesn't leave much competition, and it leaves their defense out on the field a lot. So you can argue that as well. But what you see, to me, Brian, my takeaway is that the Jets are clearly not a playoff team. They kind of had hopes with the defense riding them there, but these last two performances justify that they're not going to be making it. Whereas the Bills, maybe they can catch fire and still hold on to a wild card spot.
Yeah. And just watching this Jets offense is brutal. It really is. I watched Zach
Yes,
Wilson
yes,
today, and it's just mistake after mistake, and there's not a whole lot going for him in the run game, and then there are opportunities there, but they're just kind of shots in the dark, it looks like at times, by Zach Wilson. And Garrett Wilson, man, I feel bad for the guy. I really do. I think he's a playmaker. I think he's a really good talent,
yes.
and he's just not getting opportunities like he should be. Brees Hall has been a bright spot, I think, for this team. In the moments, he just continues to be the guy they go to in critical situations, and he does make something happen. But they got obliterated in this game, and it was just ugly from start to finish. Josh Allen did his thing. I think he, for the large part, took care of the ball, which is the biggest thing for him going forward. I think only had the one pick today, but just an overall efficient day from Josh Allen. And then also, I thought a good performance by James Cook through the air and on the ground.
Yeah, the first thing I noted about the play calling was it actually was a concerted effort to establish that ground game, and there was times where
Yep.
James Cook got the ball like 2, 3 straight runs, like no secrecy about it. They lined up and just tried to out physical this Jets team, and honestly, I think that's the attitude this Bills offense needs at times. Don't
Yep.
be so dependent on the cute stuff. Just line up and run the ball and establish that you're willing to do that. So that was a telltale sign that they're looking in a different direction to get the thing sparked, the offense sparked, and it worked today. So moving on, that's all our NFL week 11 recap action. Obviously, we'll get through prime time Josh Dobbs led Vikings and Broncos game, as well as the Monday night game, which is the Eagles and Chiefs. As a reminder, that is a great matchup. We will recap that in the week 12 preview show along with Christian. So with those games recapped of this afternoon, we'll get straight into our team takes and NFL takes on the second half of this pod. I'll go first with my Ravens playing that Thursday night game. As I mentioned, the Mark Andrews injury is a huge blow. No way around it. I think so much of him. He is, for my money, a top 3 tight end. I think I'd say 2. I got him over Kittle. I know Kittle's great, but he's been very consistent, and what he brings in the run blocking game will be sorely missed as well. And it's a huge loss with that chemistry that he has with Lamar. That said, I think this Ravens team is better equipped to handle his loss than any other year. And we saw that in the second half when OBJ really started to get going over was it a 51-yard catch, a good deep ball thrown by Lamar, and then he had a quick slant route. Like he ran another 20-ish yards after the
15, 20,
catch. So
yeah.
he's still got that juice, man. And Zay Flowers, I've shown my love for him on each podcast episode. He's got the wiggle and the quick twitch ability to make guys miss after the catch. And then reliable guys like Bateman in the red zone using his size. He caught a touchdown on Thursday night. Like I said, just very, very well equipped to handle this. Isaiah likely is going to be the key guy. He is the key piece, obviously taking over tight end one role now. I don't think, whereas Mark Andrews was on the field for, say, 90% of snaps, I would expect likely to be in the more 65 to 80 range,
Yeah.
where you'll get that substitution of that difference spread between Aguilar, Bateman, and OBJ because they're probably a little bit more established and capable than likely. But
Yeah.
that said, Brian, what do you expect for the Ravens offense going forward? Obviously, a huge blow losing that weapon, but you still think does this knock them? I've seen talk it could take them out of Super Bowl contention. For me, the answer right now is no because they're pretty well equipped. And one player, although it makes a difference, it's not your quarterback. And I trust Lamar Jackson to get things done with just about anybody, especially this group. So, do you think it's enough to knock them out of Super Bowl contention, or do you see things a different way, Brian?
I think that's kind of silly to say that, honestly, to say that this team with one of the best defenses in the NFL and one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL is out of Super Bowl contention just because they lose their star tight end. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I think that there's still plenty of weapons on this football team. I do think that there you would want an emergence out of the backfield. That's the
Yeah.
main thing for me about this Ravens offense going forward. Because you see Lamar week in, week out. He's a great player, but he's continuing to have to do a lot of running. And
Mhm.
it's not a knock on him. He's great at it. It's just the fact that he is taking those miles in games that you probably just don't want to see him having to run. And so I think that the offense is going to be fine. The Ravens are definitely still Super Bowl contenders.
Love that. Love that answer. Great answer, Brian. um, I mean, no knock. Mark Andrews is a great player, and he's a top tight end, as I said. But unless it's a QB, whereas the Bengals lost Joe Burrow, I think that's enough to keep the Bengals out the playoffs now, who now sit at 5-5 on the year. The AFC is loaded, as we said. Hard to see them making the playoffs even. The Ravens with Lamar minus Mark Andrews still very well equipped to make a run at this thing. Obviously, it's going to be just a little bit harder now. So, moving on, your Dolphins, a little shaky performance, but there's probably some things you want to touch on. What's your Dolphins take for this pod here, Brian?
Um, mine is this secondary, man, just lockdown. I really think that they're going to carry us. I think our offense alone is a unit that is playoff worthy, but this defense elevates this team to Super Bowl contention. In my opinion, I think it's I'm really starting to think it might be the better unit on our team. I think the offense is very good. I do, but the defense, man, I'm telling you, it's coming into its own. I know that we haven't seen it really locked down an elite unit, but we kind of did in a way against the Chiefs in the second half. They only had 65 yards passing, and were shut out in the second half. I just think that going forward, this defense is going to be a unit that's going to be talked about a lot in the NFL
Yes.
landscape.
Now, am I ready to say it's better than your offense? I'm not, because just respect to your offense. I think that highly of them. And Tyreek Hill, as good as the defense is, and as good as Jalen Ramsey is, he showed that today. There's no Tyreek Hill in that defense. Tyreek Hill is a top five
Ah,
NFL player.
Jalen
He is a
Ramsey?
top two. Jalen Ramsey is very good. I see Jalen. I had Jalen Ramsey as my number one corner coming into this year. That said, I just think receivers like so stacked. I think I had Tyreek at 2 or 3 coming into the year, but honestly, as we're past the halfway point now, I'd venture to say Tyreek Hill is, for my money, the best receiver in the game. And I think he's better at his position than Jalen Ramsey is. He's just an impossible cover. And I think that much of the offense, I know it had its moments today where it struggled, but week in and week out, I think you can bank on them more. And that's not to say anything poorly about your defense, because they're shaping in form as well. And honestly, Brian, this is a positive podcast episode for us. We're both sitting with teams that just 3 losses in week 11. To me, it's pretty clear that the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Dolphins, and I want to throw Jacksonville in there as well as the 4. Those are the 4 of the AFC. And I know the Browns are sitting there at 7-3, but minus Deshaun Watson, I know how good that defense is. You need a quarterback. You need a quarterback in the
Yeah.
playoffs to, I mean, there's a reason they signed Joe Flacco to the practice squad today. Like, It's hard to trust
Mhm.
them. They may get in the playoffs, even minus Deshaun Watson for the year. They may still very well get in with the defense that they have. But who in their right mind is going to pick them to beat any of those four teams in a playoff matchup? It's
Right.
hard. For my money, those are the easily established four best teams in the AFC. Was those the four we had to rank earlier, where they were all sitting at 6-2? Chiefs, Jags.
Yeah.
It was Chiefs,
Dolphins,
Jags,
Ravens.
Ravens, and Dolphins. Yeah, I thought so. So I mean, holding true to form right now. Wouldn't really expect less. These are two or four really talented rosters, and each side of the ball on each team has something to be excited about. Whereas Brian's Miami Dolphins, I thought they carried the win today, and that was impressive to see considering how often the offense has just looked lights out for the season. So exciting stuff moving forward. My NFL take this week, I went a few different thought directions, and ultimately I landed on back on the Detroit Lions because I've talked about them a lot this year, and honestly, as good as they are, I don't think you could sit there and watch every game this year and just say, okay, this team is an 8-2 team. But they are. They're sitting
Yeah.
here at 8-2, and we talked about it earlier that they low key have a chance
Right.
to be a one seed in the NFC. It's very like just crazy to think about. And I thought today's win just showcased a lot for me. Jared Goff, 3 early picks, but the ability to bounce back and just snatch a win at home. The Lions fans have been through so much heartbreak at home, seeing
Mm-hmm.
just the worst, the Hail Mary from Aaron Rodgers, the 66-yard field goal from Justin Tucker a couple years ago. Like they have witnessed heartbreak right in front of them for so many years. So
Yeah.
it's so good to see them, snatch a victory away with this Jared Goff led team. And just a player I want to shine on real quick that made that game sealing, just finish it punctuation play is Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson, man, I knew he was going to be a high top 3 pick, but I didn't think he was this good. But the motor,
He's good.
if I have to say anything about an NFL pass rusher, if you find a guy with a high motor who does not quit pass rushing, never quits on a play, that alone will get him 4 to 5 sacks a year. You partner that with good power, good strength, good nice moves, a nice inside spin move for a guy. Um, that can get you in the upper echelon of pass rushers. And Aiden Hutchinson is surely showing himself to be the star of this defense. I think each side of the Detroit team showcases why they can win multiple playoffs games. Last week it was the offense who just went ballistic against the Chargers. This week it was a slow start for the offense, but the defense kept they were bending against Justin Fields, but they kept limiting Chicago to field goals. And when
Mhm.
push come to shove, Aiden Hutchinson made that play at the end and won them the football game. Brian, my question to you is just how far does this Detroit Lions team go? Earlier in the year, I made the bold prediction of having them in the NFC Championship game. That's still a very tough ask, but say you got to throw a final record for them, sitting at 8-2. Do you think they hold the NFC North Vikings off? They win the North, and if so, what's their final record about? And do you think they even flirt with the NFC Championship? I still, in my mind, I'm going to say yes. Although obviously, I think I'd lean Philadelphia and San Fran to come out, but Detroit very much in the conversation.
Okay. Good question. I do believe in Detroit. I think if you look at their schedule, the rest of the way, they got the Packers, Saints, Bears, Broncos, Vikings, Cowboys, Vikings. I think right there, you're looking at
They'll probably be favored in all
seven,
except Dallas. Maybe they're on the road.
maybe. I don't think they run the table. I don't think
I
they
don't
do.
either, but
I think
they're
they
going
end
to be
up
favored.
being maybe how many games? One, two,
Third,
three, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think they
mm,
maybe go 4-3 down the stretch. I think they do
okay,
beat some of these.
that's wow.
Um,
And honestly, their performance today warrants that because they struggled with a lesser team.
yeah, I think they probably drop one against the Vikings. They lose to Dallas maybe, and then I think they might lose to the Bears again, maybe the Saints or the Packers. Even one of those
Yeah.
they might drop. So
Okay.
I'm thinking they roll into a nice 12-5, 12-5, 13-4 record in the playoffs. Fend off the Vikings for the division, and then I think they will be good as long as they don't face a team like Philly or the
Yeah,
49ers. I think they can beat the other teams.
yeah.
I just don't think they can beat the Niners. I think the change that will be needed for them to elevate their play, they're going to have to do the Rams, bro. They're going to have to
No
send
way.
Jared Goff out and get another quarterback in to elevate into Super Bowl.
Brian, don't say that, man. Jared Goff, Jared Goff has been through
I'm
enough,
sorry.
hasn't he?
I'm sorry, man. That's what I think. I'm serious.
Oh man, I mean,
What left?
m-
What's left?
m-
Get another pass rusher?
more. I was about to say more defense. As like I said, as good as bending and not breaking they were today. They were sorry last week against LA, the Chargers. When Aiden Hutchinson isn't getting after the quarterback, they tend to struggle, and that side of the ball can be addressed. It would be a tough pill to swallow because Jared Goff has won the hearts of the Detroit fans, and he's established himself as a good enough quarterback to start in this league, good enough to take a team to that pinnacle. Probably not, but I see what you're saying there, Brian. But that said, let me reshape this question. They play Dallas in the regular season. What are those teams to match up, say again, in the playoffs? For your money, who you taking? Because those are is Philly, San Fran top two. I think Detroit, Dallas are 3 and 4. I think I lean Dallas. I don't know. It's hard. I think I would lean Dallas. But it's very much a toss up. Either way for you.
I That's a
And
really tough question
I love
because
Detroit. Yeah, I love Detroit, but Dallas is good, man.
I think I
They
lean
are.
in Detroit because of coaching.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I will agree with you there.
That's the way
I
I'm
just
leaning. I think
and
Dallas has a little bit more talented roster though, especially when everyone's
I do
healthy.
too. I
But
do too, man. That defense. I mean, there's as good as Hutchinson is. He's not Micah Parsons, and
I would
now
agree.
Deron Bland, four pick sixes on the year. Like,
Mm,
wow, Dallas is talented, man, and really they're just missing that marquee win. Obviously, we harp on that. So that
yep.
was my NFL take. Back to the Lions. I've circled back to them a couple times, but an exciting game today, and that just got me thinking about what their future holds. So, Brian, I'll let you do your NFL take of the week, and we will get out of here, bud.
Do you know the NFC standings right now? I
I
got
know
you.
the division. I know the division leaders. The wild card teams. I would imagine Minnesota. Um, God, there's no way a second NFC South team is in. Seattle, Minnesota, Seattle. The last one, I don't know.
Dallas.
Dallas. Oh, okay, of course, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right, the teams on the bubble. I'm gonna go from the bottom. Actually, I'm gonna go from the bottom.
Okay.
Carolina 16. Surprise? No.
No.
Arizona 15. Surprise? Not really. Chicago 14. Nah.
No.
Giants 13. Surprised by that one?
No. No. I knew the
Commanders
regression. We knew
12.
the regression was coming.
Yeah, are you surprised?
Commanders. No. No.
Buccaneers 11. 11.
Hmm. I thought the Bucks were going to be worse. Honestly,
I did too.
but
I did.
credit to Baker.
Falcons at 10.
It's about what I expected.
Rams at 9.
About what I expected.
Packers at 8.
I thought they would be worse.
Look at him, man. On the bubble.
Well, I'll
My
tell you what.
NFL take is the Packers are making the playoffs.
4-6. Well, all right. So the 7 seed, I imagine, is
6-4.
both 6-4 with Minnesota and Seattle. Dang. Now that I think about it, Brian, my NFC playoff prediction is literally perfect right now. I
Vikings,
had
yeah.
I had Dallas, Minnesota, and Seattle as the wildcard teams.
You did.
Do Green Bay take them over? Make up that 2-game difference in the
Vikings
second half of the year?
and the
How many?
Panthers and the
Hmm,
Bears.
okay. Well, a lot is riding on this game right now that I have on with Josh Dobbs playing the Denver
I know.
Broncos.
Go Broncos, bro. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, the Packers are going.
If Minnesota wins tonight and gets to 7-4, a much tougher ask. But I'm about to pull up Green Bay's schedule. Obviously, Christian doesn't want to hear this, but Jordan Love had a good performance against his Chargers today. He looked very much who we thought or who Brian thought he was in the preseason.
Bro, I'm
And
been on this.
yes, and a guy I want to touch on that he didn't get a whole lot of targets or, for that matter, catches, just 3, but 91 yards for Mr. Duntavion Wicks. I believe I said that first name correctly. He has made a lot of plays these last 2 weeks, and if Christian Watson's not going to be the guy, this rookie wide receiver, he established that connection with Jordan Love and get this offense rolling. Could
One
be
was an end around,
dangerous. Yeah, okay. Well, I didn't see that, but
but
he's
yes,
explosive. Then he's explosive.
he
Then
is.
like that's exciting. That's what this Green Bay offense needs. And looking at the schedule, they've got Detroit on Thanksgiving coming up. They've got KC. Ooh, that's 2. Brian, they could be 4-8 after these next 2 weeks, and you
Dude,
still
I
don't
think
think?
they can play with Detroit.
I
I
do
think they
too.
can upset one of the next 2 weeks, bro, and then look at the rest of their schedule.
I think they need, if they want to make up this 2-game difference, I think they have to win one of these next 2, and that would be a huge upset. But when you get past that, you've got the New York Giants, Monday Night Football, obviously very winnable. Tampa Bay, Carolina, Minnesota, Chicago to finish. They could very much run the table in that second half of the year. I think they would be favored in almost all that games. Maybe Tampa is a toss-up as well as Minnesota. But Chicago and Carolina and New York Giants, obviously, they will be favored. My money, they have to pull an upset one of these next 2 weeks. I don't think it happens, Brian. I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction and keep those 3 wildcard teams in. But I see you trying to sneak them and get things rolling for me. It was a big victory. Honestly, the loser of this football game between the Chargers and the Packers, we knew their playoff hopes were pretty much dashed. And the Packers were the one to pull it out, and Jordan Love led that game-winning drive. So I see why you wanted to get the love, no pun intended, for your Green Bay Packers in there. So yeah, any comments on that? You think that just your take? They make it in and they steal wild cards. Who? I'll ask you this: who do they steal it from? Dallas, or I think Dallas is
Vikings.
probably a lock. You think the Vikings fall off? I kind of expected that because Josh Dobbs. Man, if Christian was here now, God.
Man, it's such a good rivalry, isn't it?
Oh my
The little
goodness.
Packers Vikings rivalry we've started.
It's been good.
Jordan Love and Dobbs.
It's been good for a long time, and we've got the Vikings on right now. They're currently up, I believe, 10-6 against Denver on Sunday Night Football. So a lot riding on that game. If they can get to 7-4 and make it that much bigger of a gap for Green Bay to close, it'd be very difficult. But we'll just have to tune in and watch, and that's what I'm going to do with the rest of my Sunday night. Brian, obviously. A lot of good things, a lot of good games to recap. Both of our teams taking the wins this week. I'm not sure who y'all have next week. We've got my Ravens will have the Chargers on Sunday Night Football, so we'll try to get that episode recorded a little earlier so me and Christian can talk some crap through text messages next Sunday night. So that'll be a fun one to preview when we all get together on Wednesday for the Week 12 preview show. My God. We'll have 3 Thanksgiving games to preview as well. So, Brian, any closing thoughts before I get us out of here?
We have the Jets on Friday.
Oh
Christian's
yeah, Black Friday.
long-awaited game. Yes.
Oh my God, yes, yeah. We have to. I will be. I'll have to keep you guys in the know. But I'm traveling for Thanksgiving to see my girl's parents in Nashville on Tuesday. I will be settled in by Wednesday night. I don't know if I will be. I'll have my iPad with me. I don't know if I'll be available to record, but I'm going to try my best to be, as long as we don't have anything planned. That said, I would love to, because we've got some exciting ones. Obviously, mine and Christian Chargers, and that Jets Dolphins Friday Black Friday game, and 3 Thanksgiving games to preview on the Week 12 show. So, guys, everyone that's been listening and liking and commenting on the TikToks and the rating us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, we thank you. Can't thank you enough. Continue to do so, please. Follow us on Twitter if you can, and keep up with our Ravens, Dolphins, and Chargers takes and how we're feeling every Sunday, and either great exuberance or ultimate depression, whereas probably Christian is right now. My poor friend. I'm sorry, Christian. I love you, buddy, but we will have some great things to talk about come Wednesday when we preview Week 12. Again, guys, thank you for listening. That is it for this Week 11 recap. As always, take care And we will see you on Thursday morning for the Week 12 preview. Peace out, guys.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
That's right.
All right. So